You are listening to Love Your Practice with Dr. Laura Mach. I'm a general dentist, a practice owner, and a certified life coach. I teach women who own dental practices to lead with intention and literally fall in love with their businesses. Keep listening and you will see how learning to love your practice turns into loving your life too. Hey ladies, Dr. Laura Mach here again today. And today I am introducing you to a two-part series that I'm going to be releasing. This is part 1 of 2 today. And this is actually a podcast that someone else interviewed me. His name is Dr. Sonny Spera, and his podcast is called the Fee for Service Dental Practice Podcast. And I will include his podcast in the show notes. He interviews people who have or are transitioning into being fee for service. And I have a story to tell about becoming fully fee for service. Some of it I've hinted on in this podcast, but the episodes I'm releasing are really thorough. So first of all, disclaimer, he goes all the way back to basically when I was born. It's a very thorough interview, especially the first one. We go way, way back and then get to the point of maybe about last year or so, with the journey in my practice and also in being a life coach. So it's just kind of a chatty, long rolling, but sort of interesting episode. If you like personal stories, but also maybe a little bit of inspiration. If you are thinking about going fee for service yourself, or maybe even just creating a little bit more independence for your practice from those insurance contracts and stuff. So listen in. Like I said, the next episode is also going to be Dr. Spera, because he interviewed me again about a half a year after the first one. So enjoy this. I'll see you on the other side, and thanks for tuning in.
Welcome to the Fee for Service Podcast. We got a great show today. We're going to talk to Dr. Laura Mach, and she has a phenomenal background. You're really going to enjoy this conversation. She's also a professional life coach. But she herself put herself through dental school, joined 2 practices, was completely embedded with insurance companies, started to figure out she wanted to get out, got some more training. She moved to fee for service, had an associate who stayed in network, the conflict that caused. And the topic of the conversation today is the mental blocks that many dentists face going out of network. And she's been out of network since June of 2022, so just 4.5 months, and what a great conversation. So listen up, and in the show notes we'll have all her contact and information. As always, the Fee for Service Podcast is brought to you by Kettenbach Dental. Imagine one product for every cementation protocol. It's now available. It's a hydrophilic adhesive cement and a hydrophobic buildup material. It's combined into one product, and it's called VASALIS Semcor. It has an easy peel cleanup, saving time and stress when you're removing cement. You just cure it, comes off beautifully. 5 seconds in each area. Cleans right off. It's a wonderful product. I've been using it myself. I love it. So experience-wide dentists bond permanently with Kettenbach's all-in-one adhesive cement and core buildup, VASALIS Semcor. Call 877-532-2123 or visit kettenbach-dent.us, or call that number and talk to Dan and ask him who's your rep in your area, because they got a guy or a gal in your area that represents their company the old-fashioned way. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. And if you like it, share it with your friends. Appreciate you all. Enjoy the Fee for Service Dentist Podcast.
My name is Drew Burns, and I'm a part of a small group of dentists who believe something crazy. We believe that the standard of care is just not good enough. We demand the best of ourselves and the best for our patients. We believe that the best way? No, the only way to practice dentistry is on our own terms. If you ask the dental consultants or the corporate CEOs, they tell you that what we're doing isn't smart, that fee-for-service dentistry is dead, and that the golden age of dentistry is over. Yet, while others focus on profits first, we focus on the patient first. And yet our offices are some of the most profitable in the entire country because we invest in ourselves and we are doing things right. It's our name on the door and it's our reputation on the line. My name is Drew Burns and I am a fee-for-service dentist. This is the Fee-for-Service Dentist Podcast, and these are our stories.
Welcome to the Fee-for-Service Dentist Podcast. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Dr. Laura Mach. Did I pronounce that right?
You did. Good job.
Good. I mess up a few times. Well, thank you.
Not today. Today you do.
Some of you may know Laura. She will tell you she is not your conventional dentist, I believe were the words she just told me off air. So she is a former chairside assistant, general dentist, 15-year practice ownership veteran, author, and a certified life coach. And that's going to come in handy when we talk about our topic today. She has owned a thriving, successful private practice for 15 years and continues to practice 3 days a week. She also has a podcast, fellow podcaster, Love Your Practice, where she explores quality of life, career enjoyment, self-care, and stress management for dental practice owners. She also coaches women who own their own practice using the casual coaching method taught at the Life Coach School. Women go through her program, learn how to experience less overwhelm and stress and more enjoyment and more empowerment in their profession and personal relationships. She's also a speaker. You can find her on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and her website, loveyourpractice.net. And we'll put all this in the show notes, but please welcome Dr. Laura Mach. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. And thank you so much for inviting me on and making the time and the space for us to talk about this awesome subject. I'm really excited.
Yeah. So for people, the little background, Laura and I have been playing tag a little bit in the last couple days. How about this time? How about that time? I had to change it. She had to change it. But we wanted to get it done and get it out as quickly as we can. The topic, I think, is so relevant and so important. And I think, as always, we'll dive a little bit deeper as we get going. I can't wait to hear her background. I'm tickled pink about it. But let me tell you what our topic is going to be. It's going to talk about going out of network. And right? Okay, we got a little music. Thank you. And the mental blocks that many dentists face. And when I talked to her, I said, mental blocks or mental challenges? Oh, no. Mental blocks. Mental blocks. And you can't see her. She's mouthing the words right now. So we're good. All right. So let's start out. Where are you from, Laura?
I grew up in Iowa.
All right. Chad Johnson country. I love it. Mm-hmm. And what's your background?
I was raised in a very traditional family where girls don't work outside of the home. Mm-hmm. And there were 7 of us. Unfortunately, my dad was unemployed for most of my growing up years. So I got my first job at a fast food restaurant when I was 14 so that I could pay for my clothes and my lunches, that type of thing. And I got a job in a dental office as an office trained dental assistant when I was, I think, maybe 20 or so.
How are you raised not to work out of the house when your dad never had a job? That can't be easy your mom had to work too, I would assume.
The future of fee-for-service dentistry is based in membership patients. If you need help starting your membership plan, or if your plan is too big for your team to manage, visit dentalmembershipdirect.com to set up your free membership growth solution demo with our team.
How are you raised not to work out of the house when your dad never had a job? That can't be easy your mom had to work too, I would assume.
She did, and she was very underprepared for it. In fact, she worked at the mall.
Okay.
And then she fed us by going to the plasma place. She called it blood sucking. She would take her $20 bill over to Aldi, because back then Aldi wasn't cool. Buy her groceries that she would get with $20 and feed our family of 9.
Family of 9. Did your siblings work and help contribute? Got to be. Yeah.
No, we all worked.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, were you anywhere near the Amana colonies? Were you
Yeah, I'm not that far from the Amanas. Have you been there?
Yes, I have. I have a good friend, Dr. Dwayne Schmidt, was one of my mentors, and he's in Cedar Rapids. So I went out and visited him several times, and we made some trips to the Amana colonies. Cedar Rapids. He was, I think, Gentle Dental, I think was the name.
Oh, Gentle Dental. He was the original, the OG at Gentle Dental.
Oh, he's the OG. Oh, absolutely.
Yes, he's definitely the OG.
Yeah, he wrote books. He wrote a lot for dental economics, excuse me. And then he as in his older years, he wrote about a number of things. He wrote a book called Iowa Pride, which you have to get.
I will. I did not know that about him. Thank you for teaching me that.
Oh, wonderful man. Wonderful guy. I used to call him my dad number two.
Oh.
And I just enjoyed the heck out of him. And he passed a bit ago, and his wife Deanne, lovely lady. So yeah, he had sold his practice before he retired to Mashi, I believe, is the doc that took it over.
Yes, Dr. Mashi.
Practice. It's a enormous practice. Just the sheer size of his place. But anyway, yeah, so he took us down in Manic Colonies, and that was Amish country, right? Isn't it?
Well, back then, it's not Amish. The Amish are nearby, but this was like another German colony of utopian something. I don't remember what they called themselves.
But they had like that traditional family value thing too, right?
Yes, for sure. That's not where my family got their beliefs from, but yes, for sure. And then you can have like their homemade furniture and the special blankets and all those.
Yeah, the furniture. Yep. I remember that.
Yes. So
that's your surroundings. You start working at an early age. So there's no question you've got the work ethic. There's no doubt about it. So where did you go from there?
Well, I got married.
At what age?
I was 23 when I got married. Okay. And I immediately got pregnant and had 2 babies before I remembered how I had wanted to be a dentist. I kind of put that away when I got married. I was like, well, this is what girls do. They stay home with their babies. And I did that for a while, but I didn't love it. And I remembered that I wanted to go to dental school, and I decided to go for it.
Now, what were some of the jobs that you had up to that point, though, between high school and 23?
Just dental assisting.
So you were a dental assistant?
Yes.
So you had a little flavor. What age, when did you get into that?
20.
20. Okay. So did you do that for those 3 years then before?
Well, yeah, but also being a mom. Well, yeah. So, and I went on a mission. See, I was raised as a Mormon.
Okay.
So I did a Mormon mission for some time. And so it was dental assistant, Mormon missionary, dental assistant, get married, stay at home mom.
Okay. Quite a full life by the age of 23, 24.
Right?
You're not kidding.
Yeah.
But so in the back of your mind, let me ask you then, I'm just dead curious. Where was the impetus to go into dentistry? Where did that come from? What was
inside me? Like I watched The Dentist and I was like, I know I can do that.
So this was just from being a patient?
Well, no, after I got hired as a dental assistant.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Then I watched The Dentist and I knew I could do that.
I hope all my assistants think this way too, honestly. I really think that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guess a lot of admiration and respect for your dentist.
For my dentist?
For the dentist that you work for?
Yeah, absolutely. And he wasn't very encouraging.
Most aren't.
Well, dental school is awfully hard.
Right. Yeah.
But then after that, I worked for some women and they were much more supportive.
Okay. So obviously not encouraging, but at least a decent role model for you. Like when you're saying, I can do this. Did you also say, I like how he's doing it? I mean, what were some of the other cues?
I saw his love for science.
Okay.
And I had that inside of me. And he was a leader as far as like he was the first dentist in Iowa to be AACA accredited. I mean, American Academy of, yes.
Oh, cosmetic dentistry? AACD.
Thank you. AACA is Invisalign. Sorry. But that was cool. And then I knew that I had a talent for talking and listening to people. And I thought that would be a really nice combo.
Okay.
And so I had been going to the community college a couple classes at a time just to kind of do something. I still didn't know what.
Now,
And
this was while you were assisting, or was this after you had the
well,
baby?
as a
Okay,
mom.
as a mom, yeah, you're busy, busy. The Doc Sites provides affordable and effective websites for dentists with no long-term contracts, transparent pricing, and great customer service, starting at only $59 a month. They also provide optional online marketing packages to help increase your online visibility. For special offers, including up to 25% off your website setup, text fee for service to 818-489-9823. 818-489-9823. This is a limited time offer, so text now and lock in your savings and visit Doc Sites for more information.
As a mom.
As a mom, yeah, you're busy, busy.
Yep. I came home from my part-time assisting job and I told my husband, I really want to go to dental school. And this was against the culture. I had a ton of pushback, but not from him. He was very supportive, and it was January. So I got online and I just changed my registration to science and math. And I got a babysitter, my sister, to watch my kids Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Saturday morning. And it was algebra and chemistry that semester. And I just went for it, and you couldn't stop me once I got started.
We knew this. We knew the work ethic, the headstrong part. I'm loving this. So when you talk about the culture, right? It's really right, male dominant, female second, right? That kind of thing. Yeah, I think some of the traditional Italians have that as well, but old school, mother doesn't work, stays home, etc.
Yes.
So talk about any pushback you got from your family, because that had to be, like a push pull, give take, and
yeah,
that's hard when you have that surrounding.
So it's complicated for my mom because my mom grew up with a husband who didn't work, and so even though she wanted me to be a good Mormon, she saw that this was going to be good for me and my kids, right?
Well, she lived through a tremendous struggle. I mean,
exactly.
Right?
Blood sucking to feed your family.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, donating blood to feed your family, that's about as far down as you can get. Probably proud enough, didn't want to go on welfare or food stamps, et cetera, right? And yeah.
They were staunch Republicans. They would never have signed up for any type of welfare. But then the other, like my grandma, who was a very, very strong woman as a Mormon, she wrote me this long letter after I got accepted, which I had 2 small children. I only applied to one school and I got in the first time. And so it was this really huge accomplishment, but she wrote me this long letter and told me that I would be blessed to give it up because if I went to dental school, I wouldn't be the leader of I would be the leader of the family, and everybody already knew I was smart and I didn't need to prove it to anybody. We didn't talk for a long time after that.
Yeah, I can guess so. So is that your mother's mother or is that your father?
My mother's mother, correct.
Oh my. So your mom sort of is like, I think you can do this and should do this, but her mom is saying, no, go back to the old thinking.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of push and pull and yin and yang. That's not a great support system. So
it wasn't. And I want to tell you one more thing that was hard because it wasn't right. And that's that every class at my school had 10 to 12 Mormon men that were in the class. And they didn't make me a part of their club. They had a little club, but I was not a part of it because I was a woman. So I wasn't a part of the Mormons and I wasn't really a part of the mainstream students either. And of course, my sophomore year, I had another baby. So then I had nursing and hurrying home to the baby. And like I was living in these worlds and I really didn't have a place where I fit.
That for me, what I've been taught and I can think of, like, for example, if a person's a smoker, all right, just take an example, and all their friends smoke, it's almost healthier than if they're a smoker and none of their friends smoke. because now there's a peer pressure and there's that internal and I'm just picturing you in the environment and all these other factors that has to, and now you're having children and your body's being taken into the, it's talk a little bit about just the turmoil that you had to deal with at that point.
So my school, when I told them that I was pregnant, they said, well, congratulations. You can either take off a week and keep up with your classmates, or you can take a year off and go with the next people. But they didn't offer any type of accommodation, like helping me pre-take any courses summer beforehand. They said, no, that's too much work for the teachers. You'll just keep up with your classmates. And so I just did it. And sometimes I would bring my kiddo to class with me. I'd wear him. And, sitting alone in the nursing lounge where I could pump my breast milk by myself in the basement while everybody else was up having lunch together, it wasn't ideal. But
this is at the community college. This is just getting some of the prerequisites. No? This is in dental school?
During dental school. Yes. My sophomore year of dental school.
You know what? I get that. I can fully understand how that would be a method of. So in the dental school, you're saying was this group of Mormon men that excluded you. So this is not even the community college. So this is in the dental school. And at what point did you enter the dental school? And how did you get into dental school with just some community courses? How did you get that to happen?
Well, I did the community college for a while, but I had been to BYU before I went on my Mormon mission.
Okay.
And after the community college, I started going to the University of Iowa. I just never got a degree there because I got accepted into the school.
Into the dental school?
Yes.
So they accepted you without having an undergrad degree?
Yes.
Did you take DATs? Did you do that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And did you take the prerequisites in terms of chemistry and so you got basically your science core done, right?
Yes. And I already had enough college from before that was at a university. And like I said, once I got started, you could not stop me. So it was an A or an A+ in every course. And I did well enough on the DAT to qualify me to be admitted.
I got to ask you a question, just totally curious. Can you remember your dental school admissions interview?
Yeah, I can. Mm-hmm. It was a rote thing where they were like, if this weird thing happened, what would you do?
Really?
Yeah.
I would think when someone has someone like yourself in front of them who is not the average bear, that there would be a conversation. Or if you're talking about a real misogynistic situation where it's all male dominant, et cetera, almost like trying to put you down. I mean, was any of that?
No, the school itself was pretty supportive, and their interview process was a script. They weren't allowed to go off of the script.
That's boring. We didn't learn anything.
It was. I was like, that was stupid.
Yeah. It's like, just check the boxes, mail it in. Oh wow! I thought it'd be more exciting. Okay, so you get in, and you finish on track because you're a 2007 grad.
Yeah, finished on time. Had my baby.
Had your baby over the weekend. Went back to school Monday. All right.
Yeah, I was excited because it was Labor Day, so I got an extra day.
So wait a second. So it was your sophomore year? You said second year?
Yeah, second year.
So were you guys starting any clinic in your second year? Because all dental schools are different.
Yes, we started with hygiene the first semester.
Yeah. Preventive clinic.
Second semester, we did operative, like Dr. Buckle Pit type thing.
Yeah. So that was second semester, sophomore year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone was different. I remember at University of Buffalo, I think that was their big thing. We get you in the clinic your freshman year. Well, you assist somebody doing a prophy. That's what it ultimately boiled down to. You're like, okay, I hope one day I'll be doing a prophy, and then you graduate and you can't do hygiene because you're not licensed, and we had to wait forever to get our license. But enough about me. So you graduate 2007 University of Iowa. At any point in time in your undergrad dental school, in dental school, did you have any thoughts of, I'm going to specialize, I'm going to go into pediatrics, I'm going to, did you have any of those thoughts?
I thought about it. My national boards were pretty decent, so I thought about it. I was planning to apply to pediatrics, but then halfway through senior year, I was like, I like adults. I don't.
By the way, that was just a guess. And Dr. Schmidt was a pediatric dentist by training.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
I just taken a guess because of the number of children and your background and maybe having an affinity. Because if you can pull that off and still have kids, you're a little bit of supermom there. So, so you finished. Now, what's the course of you going into private practice? What's your first step upon graduation?
I got 2 part-time jobs, and one of them, I bought the practice like 6 months later.
So 6 months out of dental school, you're buying a practice?
Yes, I thought I was behind.
Whoa, behind what? Like you were too late?
Because I was old. I was 32, and I thought that was old. So
I see. So not a biological clock ticking. You had a business clock ticking, huh?
Pretty much. I was like, I got to pay for college for these kids.
Yeah. Well, right. Your husband's still supportive through the whole thing, right?
Well, he was, but we got divorced.
Okay. Well, if you want to talk about that, I don't want to go there, but if you want to go there, I'm going to leave that in your corner.
Yeah. He got deployed after I graduated, and he came home, and we weren't Mormon anymore, and we got divorced.
Okay. We weren't. So he wasn't, or you weren't?
Well, I left first, and then he left after me.
I got you. So he probably had the same situation with all his relatives, and he probably got ostracized. And
he would, but he had converted to the church, so he didn't have any Mormon relatives.
So he didn't have that outside influence.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So it would make sense if it was an easier transition back, I guess. I don't know. We'll leave it alone. So you take these 2 jobs. Describe the jobs. What did you take? What were you doing?
I was an associate for men for both of them. And one of them I knew was probably going to be part-time, temporary. And the other one was the practice that I wanted to buy. And it was this practice that was very like a small town, kind of like everybody gets a prophy, everybody gets 2 bite wings a year.
Yeah.
And it was be as conservative as possible, which is what the dentist valued. He valued saving his patients money.
Right. And so this is small town.
It was, yes. It was near Cedar Rapids, but not.
Okay. So it was like a suburb,
Yeah, Marion. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah. And
what's the population ballpark?
Right now there's 30,000 in Marion, but he had previously practiced in Jones County, which is next to Cedar Rapids, and then had moved his practice to Marion. So it was a lot of people from the small town.
Was there a lot of dentists in that community?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. So he's going to be quote unquote a conservative dentist, because that's what they like to call themselves. We don't really cut teeth. We watch things, and we're gonna seal this cavity for you.
He might put a stainless steel crown on a farmer because the farmer didn't want to pay for the gold.
Right.
Or he might say, well, your gums feel about the same as they did last time. Mm-hmm. But not just actually probe them, but just, scale it on his own. And he liked practicing that way.
So now you graduate, you have 3 children, if I got the count right.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
3 children, you're now divorced.
Yep.
You're on your own.
Yep.
So I'm not how much more shoulder you want to put on your shoulders, but you're in debt, and now you're going to buy a practice in 6 months. Tell me, you said you felt late because of your age. Okay. Mm-hmm. What did you do then to get yourself business savvy or business ready? You had to do something.
Well, no, I was completely unprepared.
Okay.
I was just like, let's do this. And the owner stayed on, and he mentored me for a long time, taught me how to do the payroll and call in to pay the payroll taxes every other Friday, and we kept the practice very much the same for several years.
So you kept up the 2 bite wings?
Yes.
That
For a
stroke
while,
everybody every so
yeah.
often.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did a lot of Medicaid dentistry during that time.
Oh my.
A lot
Hard to
of,
survive.
yeah, well, I didn't have very many expenses. The practice was $500,000 to buy it, and I was used to being poor. So
And
that was,
you have school debt and you have 3 kids, right?
yeah, but I was used to raising them on a little bit of nothing. And
You
I
weren't
don't
going
know.
to the blood bank, were you? I hope you weren't doing that.
We weren't doing blood
Okay.
sucking, no.
All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but it was fine. We let the practice grow organically.
Okay.
And I had more student debt than a lot of my classmates, but it's not like now. I think the total was 180,000.
So let me ask you this question is, help me understand. You come out, you're an associate. So obviously you're building the practice up a little bit more. So it's not just a straight one doctor practice. So when you buy in at 6 months, any idea what that practice grew to because you were there?
It really hadn't grown that much yet, but the seller didn't want to work as much either.
Okay. Because now I want to ask you when you buy it, because this is a fact of a lot of people that want to buy practices. I'm going to buy the practice and the owner wants to stay. Well, it's a one doctor practice. It's not going to feed 2 families. Plus, I got to pay you, right? So how did that transition go from a working standpoint? Did you add time? What did you do to make that work?
I was available in the evenings. I was available on days that he didn't work. I took Medicaid patients. I was there for emergencies, and I didn't expect to make very much money. I just put in my time, and I was useful and poor.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it does make sense when you put all the numbers out there. Sure. And you're taking Medicaid on top of that. Yeah. You're going to be poor.
Yeah.
So, but now do you want to so you paid $500,000 for the practice. What was the practice doing in revenue? Do you remember?
I want to say it was like 900,000.
Okay. So you probably bought it in the neighborhood of around the net, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair price.
It was a good price.
That's a fair price.
He was happy. I was happy.
Right.
And
So
it didn't take very long.
So what was the plan for transition? What was his plan? Because you said he wanted to back off a little bit, right?
And he did. And he wanted to travel. He went to Europe. He didn't do any more hygiene. He worked 3 days a week instead of
Wait.
half.
He was doing the hygiene? He was your hygienist?
Doing a lot of hygiene.
Okay. Did you have a hygienist?
Yes.
Okay. Did you end up hiring another one because he was cutting back?
Eventually I did, yes. Because it kept on growing. And back then, Medicaid wasn't as bad as it is now. And in Iowa, it was maybe a little bit better than the average. And of course, we were taking regular insurance as well. And, I have a good personality. So the practice grew, and he has a good personality with a good reputation. So it grew. It didn't take that long until, 5 years out. He was kind of ready to go, and I was wanting to change how we practiced by then. I wanted to implement a perio program, and I wanted to not just assume that the patients wanted to do the least amount possible.
So this is now 2012, 2013, somewhere in there?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 5 years of working together that he's sort of phasing. 5 years is a long time to work together.
Yeah.
I got to believe that the practice at that point had doubled?
No?
It
hadn't doubled because he continued to back off.
Okay, so did it go up?
1.2, 1.3.
All right, so 1.3 is, that's a 50% growth from 900, right?
Yeah.
Still significant.
Yes.
But you're looking at it over the course of 4 to 5 years. So if it's a 10% per year, that's a reasonable number. And you're not marketing, you're not pushing yourself. It's just happened organically. Okay. So now your practice is established. No, wait. Now you want to establish your practice to reflect what you want it to reflect.
Yeah.
So what did you come to? How did you come to that crossroads decision?
I talked to a consultant. She was a former hygienist consultant who was local to our area. And she and I kind of looked at the numbers and realized that it was untapped, that there were things we could be doing that were better for the patient and better for the practice. And we just decided to start with perio. And it was a challenge because a lot of patients had perio and they didn't know it.
Yeah, no, they just twice a year and do what the insurance does, right?
Yes.
Now, what did your team do when you brought this philosophy on board?
Well, most of them were very supportive, not all of them, and the dentist wasn't thrilled to.
Right. That probably hastened his exit.
Yeah, I probably.
Yeah, because he's not going to change at that point. And plus he's 1 foot out the door as it is.
How's he going to have a perio conversation with someone? Yeah. He's been taking care of.
He would sabotage you. He would sabotage all your efforts, and he would drive you crazy. In the situation that you just described, it would be a nightmare to work with someone after that amount of time. And just all due respect, it's time to go.
And honestly, we did lose some patients when we initiated the perio program.
Change. Right.
Yes.
But it wasn't just perio, I'm assuming. What else did you do?
Well, we started actually putting crowns on teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I signed on with a bigger, more expensive consulting company, and we dropped our alloys because we were still doing alloys. And I started learning how to do more procedures that I thought patients would want instead of just focusing on doing the minimum amount.
Okay. So more case presentation, a little more comprehensive care, would you say?
Photography, intraoral photography, digitizing everything, digital records, scanning. We got a laser. I eventually went to COIS, and now I'm a COIS graduate, and I went to BioClear, and so I do, minimally invasive things that patients want. And this is what, once I realized, so it was probably 2015, 2016 or so, I was like, insurance sucks. This sucks. And I need a path to be free of this. And so I started going to a lot of continuing education that centered around what I believed patients wanted, but that insurance doesn't pay for.
Okay. So now you just took us into 2016. Okay. And describe your practice, and when did you get out of insurance?
So by 2016, what happened was I dropped all the insurances but Delta, and I made a very big error that I'm hoping everyone is still listening to me so I can say. When I would drop an insurance, and some of the patients would leave and some would stay, and it would backfill with more Delta.
Okay.
And so the Delta grew and the Delta grew, and it's like ubiquitous around here. And that's why by 2016, 2017, when I was starting to get frustrated at the write-offs, was because I was like 75 or 80% Delta at this point.
85? Did you say 85%?
No, 75 to 80.
Oh, 75 to 80. Okay. I was like 85%. Holy cow, stranglehold. But 75 is pretty damn close, right?
Yeah.
So 3 out of every 4 patients that walk through your door are Delta.
Yes. I mean, you just kind of assume they are at that point. And you just start treatment planning according to how Delta's sort of trained you to do it. The patient's not going to want to do more than their insurance covers. So I have to make a plan for right now and make a plan for next year and the year after that. And I just fell into it.
Okay. So
in that way.
So now what you're describing, a lot of people describe it's a mindset. It's almost a cult, we'll call it, right? It's like drinking the Kool-Aid. I have insurance. And we're out of network, but I had this conversation just today. The patient was like, well, I had 1 crown done this year. And I said, well, if you're looking at what you need, you're way over your insurance benefits. So if you want to talk about what you need, or you want to talk about working within limitations that your insurance company is setting arbitrarily that you're going to follow. So Anyway, you have to politely do it, but it's still, you gotta be handled. So talk about that then, because that's got to be your biggest challenge, or at least in your mind, you're saying, I don't know if I'm going to get past this roadblock.
Yeah.
Right?
So I'm saying to myself, you just pointed to your brain and I'm pointing to mine now.
Right.
I'm saying to myself, people will leave the practice. I have all these employees and I built up a new space. It's beautiful. I've been in there 7 or 8 years now and it looks so good. I have this debt from building this new practice. I can't drop Delta. They're too big. They won't even send us a check anymore. And I'm like listing all these things. It becomes a habit in my mind. Every time I say it's too hard, I can't do it, I'm scared. It creates an emotion inside of my body that's fear. And when you feel afraid, it stops you from taking any action. I like to picture like a deer in the headlights. Like, I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to stand here and look at the headlights. I'm going to
get slaughtered.
Yeah. I'm going to keep on taking these discounts. Like, they get bigger every year. And I'm just going to see how much faster I can do a crown and how much faster I can do class 2s and class 3s and all that stuff.
Economies of scale and all that other nonsense that you hear.
It got to be exhausting. My body hurt and I would just go home and go to bed. I wasn't really having fun anymore. And this is when I said, I really need to up my game. I need to up my skills.
Right. So that's when you did COIS, or was that?
Yes.
Okay.
It took me several years to finish COIS. And then
now at COIS, there's a lot of other things that they talk to you about, right? Not just the physical part, but they do talk to you a lot about the mental and getting to that point of going out of network, I'm assuming, right?
They do. Mm-hmm. Yes. And my consultant at the time was working on that as well. But it's funny because they told me how to do it, but I still didn't because I was still afraid.
Right. So that's one of the mental blocks, right? Is just fear.
Yes.
Talk about some of the other mental blocks, because this is our topic, that dentists are going to face. Or what are some of the ones that you faced? This is your life. You dealt with it. So
let's get to indecision. Like, well, I don't know how to do this. I mean, I guess I'm going to have to start talking to my patients during their hygiene exam. But since I have 3 hygienists all the time, and I have 2 patients waiting for me every day, or
I won't have the time to do this. Yeah.
How am I going to have these conversations? What letter should I send? How many times on the Facebook?
Oh, I don't want to hear about the letter anymore. I don't.
What letter should I use to send?
It's the magic letter, just like the magic fairy pixie dust that fixes teeth without touching them. So, yeah. So go ahead. Sorry. That's a rant. I don't want to go there.
There's
Go ahead.
Indecision, overwhelm, fear, stress. All of these emotions come from thoughts in our brains that become habits in our minds. And what's funny is, I am sure that the insurance companies and the actuaries and the people who study this, they know exactly what is going on in our minds.
Right. Well, it's a game and a joke. And it's an unfair playing field, as you know, right? It's completely skewed. Insurance companies can collude. They can do whatever they want. Least favored nation. If you're Aetna and I'm Blue Cross, and Aetna pays 50 and Blue Cross pays 60, and Blue Cross finds out Aetna's paying 50, well, they drop my fee down to 50 because you've accepted that on some horrible plan. And God forbid that you said, listen, hey, Dr. Joe down the street, I'm charging X for, a 2-surface filling. Oh, geez, I got to do that. Well, that's collusion.
That's collusion.
That's insane.
Yeah. Or how about this? You get a letter and they're like, hey, we noticed that you do more buildups than your colleagues do.
Right. So you're guilty.
And then you're guilty. And then
we're going to tell your patients, and we're going to tell them that you're unethical.
I'm terrible at this. I'm doing too many buildups just because I need the money, or just like this fear and imposter syndrome, so many things that the insurance companies sort of slip into you so that you'll continue to pay their game and make them look good.
Well, of course. Talk about the imposter syndrome. Talk a little bit more about that.
Well, the imposter syndrome starts probably when we're in dental school, or maybe even before that, when we're trying to get our asses into dental school. Right. So we want to be a dentist, but we have to pass organic chemistry. And somehow we slip by and we think it's a fluke that we did well in these tests. And then we get into dental school and we find out that actually we don't get straight A's anymore because now we have a wax up on a tooth, which is a completely different skill. And it looks like a piece of shit.
Oh, you see my wax ups?
Are they good? And then we start to feel this shame, right?
Yeah.
And the shame is something that comes from sentences in our minds, sort of like, oh my gosh, wait until someone finds out that I actually suck at all of this.
And how about your one of your friends walks over and they have a wax up that looks like it was walked out of like a page of a manual.
Yes, and every clinical photo that you see in dental school is like that dental professor's best picture ever, right?
Right. But we don't know that.
No, so they're not putting their failures up there.
Right.
Or if they are, they're going, well, this went wrong, so don't do this. And this went wrong, so don't do this. And so kind of implying that everything that goes wrong is your fault.
Right. Well, look at the dental posts, like dental clinical pearls or some ones that are a little more dentistry focused. And you're right, they're best pictures. And a lot of times I try to put up just basic routine restorative stuff. And it's nothing to write home about, but it's what we see every day, right? Yeah. And the comments and the vitriol, it's so unprofessional. Like there was one today, it was a joke, but the guy showed a picture of these crowns that he sent. It was a really expensive lab. And the first response was, well, was the photos you sent the lab as bad as what this looks like? Immediately threw the guy into I was like, holy daggers. Like
anyone who acts like that on social media believes that they are also a piece of shit.
I'm telling you. So you're a poser, right? Like my kids would say at school, you're being a poser, right?
Yep. They're trying to cut those people down so that they can feel better about themselves for a little bit.
Yeah, anybody who hasn't done something that failed is not a dentist.
Right? Sorry. Oh my gosh. Think of all the factors that we have going against our success.
Or they move every year. They move to a different location and then their failures never catch them. And they've never failed, right? So like the residency programs. I did it 1 year, boom, I'm out. Everything worked great. Good. Next guy comes in.
That's amazing.
Who the hell did this 3 years ago? All right. So more of the mental block. So we talked about fear, indecision, imposter. What else?
Overwhelm. When you feel overwhelmed, you don't know which way to go. And so you don't go any direction at all. And
which leads to your indecision.
Yeah. These come from thoughts like, I'm so busy. I don't have time to do that at all. And that's you're on the hamster wheel and you never take time to work on your business because there's more MOs and DOs to do.
You're too busy working in your business. Right. Exactly. You're too busy in your business, not on your business. Right.
Yes. Yeah. So, and my clients deal with this all the time. When we do the life coaching stuff, we get deep down into what their brain habits are that are making them feel stressed or overwhelmed all the time. And we really look at those thoughts that are happening and ask ourselves, is this a brain habit that we want to keep? Because just because it's firing in our brain doesn't mean it has to stay there.
Well, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy if you let it.
Correct. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
If I say I'm too busy, I feel too busy, I act too busy.
You're too busy.
Therefore, I am too busy.
Therefore, you are. Exactly. You've created it, and you can justify it, and then you can make yourself, quote, feel better.
Yes.
Because that's it.
Yes. And by the time 2020 hit, I was already a Course graduate. I did all these fancy things, but I was still on the hamster wheel because I hadn't corrected my own thoughts about insurance, and so I still felt afraid.
So hold on. Let's go back now, because 2018, you said I really want to do this and do that, but in 2020, 2 years later, you're still on the hamster wheel. You still haven't cut the cord.
Still haven't cut the cord. I made plans to do it, but I didn't do it.
So did the pandemic play into this at all?
Oh, for sure. Yes.
All right, we'll talk about it. What happened?
I was out on my little farm on the gravel road looking at the deer, looking at the foxes and the birds. And I was like, I'm not doing anything and I'm fine. So I am done being Delta Dental's bitch.
I knew you were going to say that.
I already told you, I swear.
I knew you were going there. I was like, I knew it because that's one of my daughter's favorite expressions too. I'm done being, but like it's so funny. I'm so. That might be. We might have to put that in quotes. Do not be Delta Dental's
to cross stitch that for us.
All right.
Yeah.
So you have this epiphany.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then.
Just
so
like
what's your action plan now? How do you put your plan in action now? Go from your thought process to inaction.
So it starts with your thoughts. And this is very coachy to say, but once my brain changed, my actions finally changed because I felt something new, which was, I would call it ready for change. Ready to face that people might leave, ready to see that it was going to change that. And I was okay with that because I knew that I could sit at home and watch the birds and be just fine. So I said, I do not want to be Delta Dental's bitch anymore. And so we're going to figure out how to do this. And at the time I had an associate and I invited her to join me. She declined. And so I looked into the rules and saw that I could be out and she could be in. And then what happened is we started telling the patients when they came in, oh, you have Delta. So usually you see Dr. Laura, but you can see her or you can see Dr. Erica. And almost everybody switched to Dr. Erica.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because they have an option.
They have an option.
Without changing practices, right?
They still got to see their same hygienist.
Nothing really changed to them.
Anybody new except for Dr. Erica. So
that's strange. That's unusual.
Yeah, it was.
So you don't even have to deal right now with your team mentality. They can stay stuck into Delta's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And they don't have to join you on what you just described, right? As you're ready. They didn't have to become mentally ready.
That is correct. And it's a very good point because later on in this story, when we become full fee for service,
you lose.
Talking about becomes more pertinent for patients and employees.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how many did you lose?
Patients?
No. Team.
Employees? 3.
Yeah. Out of how many?
9.
Yeah. So a third.
Yeah.
I mean, you walk in, go tell IBM tomorrow you're going to lose a third of your workforce tomorrow. See how they deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's huge. Mm-hmm. That's reality though, right? You probably talk about your preparation then leading up to this. So at what point do you make this change? So 2020, you're going to go out of service, but they have the safety net there in your associate.
Yep. So,
and your practice still remains quote in network.
Correct.
But you're out.
I'm out. So I got to the part where I was eating bonbons at my desk. Like literally, this is the slowest my life has ever been since I decided I was going to be a dentist.
Right. Oh yeah, you were going Mach speed the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mach. I love that. You used my name.
Oh my gosh.
Very clever.
Freudian slip apparently, but
But yeah.
So you had to have doubts at this point. You're sitting on your hands. You had no doubts ever?
I monitored my doubts as a life coach. When I saw myself feeling doubt, I would say, "Oh, I'm feeling doubt. What am I thinking that's creating doubt?" And then I would do a little check in my mind and I would think, "Oh yeah, I'm worried again because so and so is seeing Dr. Erica now," and I have a reply for myself ready where I would say, "That is still my asset." That's how I would answer myself when I would see another patient, see her. That's still my asset.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you take it personal at all?
Yes.
Yeah, because Chad talks about that too when that happened for him. And you think I've raised this family. I've seen them for years. I've been invited to the kids' graduation, blah, 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 blah. They think everything. And the moment you out, they're like, okay, see ya. You're like, oh, that wasn't really that strong a relationship.
Patients that I had done full mouth reconstruction on,
For Delta fees?
A few of them. Yeah. As I was learning how to do it. Yeah. I was learning.
Okay. Nobody can see the facial expression I just made.
Or laser gum surgery.
Okay.
Or implant supported dentures. And this gal that I hired is 2 years out and hasn't really gone to any continuing education. And yet the patients are like, okay, yes, here's Dr. Erica. So that I did take that personally some, but also as a life coach, I was looking at my feelings all the time and monitoring them. So.
Yeah, but I mean, the people have the perceived value, they're getting two signals.
Yes, it was a definite problem.
Very hard.
And we were like,
very tough. I could understand the patients in this scenario.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the Delta patients, they were getting like a kind of like a fee for service practice level of care.
Sure.
And so of course they wanted to keep coming here. Right?
Why not?
They had nothing to lose in this whole situation.
Yeah. Price, service, quality. Pick two. You were given three.
We had a hard time because
can't do all three.
Dr. Erica and I didn't practice the same, and we were going to, but she didn't want to learn from what I wanted to teach her.
Your practice philosophies now are diverging.
Yes, exactly. They were diverging. And ultimately it was, okay, Dr. Erica, this practice is going to be full fee for service. So you can drop your contracts or you can find a new opportunity. And that was June.
Well, yeah, and here's the other part that you would have experienced. Let's say she does drop and she goes, okay, I'll go fee for service, but she doesn't philosophically agree with your treatment planning. Now, patient comes in, you see him, they saw her at hygiene visit, they come to you, you're like, no, I'm going to do it this way. And the patient's like, no, that's not what I was prepared for.
Yep.
When you have that, that's a tremendously stressful situation. The best thing that ever happened is the loss of your associate.
I have to, even though I support her as a person, but since
in your practice, though, the way you view your practice, it's a deal breaker.
Yeah. If you find someone to practice with who agrees with you, that's one thing. And that's what I thought we were starting, but it's not what we ended up with. And so it needed to happen.
I mean, there's 7 docs. We're down 6 now. We're down to 6 now. We lost a doc the other day, and it was because of this.
Yeah.
I mean, either you're part of our core values and our culture or you're not. Mm-hmm. And multiple coaching, counseling sessions. And behavior needed to change. We had to go to Jesus meeting, I call it, and no change and no acceptance of any responsibility. So we sail the boat east, and that dock's going west. So that's okay.
And you know what? She has found a new opportunity in a practice that I think is a better fit for her.
Sure.
So I'm thrilled for her, and it's really helped with continuity in practice.
Okay, so now she's gone and it's your baby and it's fee for service. What happens day one?
The team was thrilled, and they started asking patients to pay up front right away. We had just had a meeting about it, and they were really excited because they get bonused on our collections. So they saw how it would help them and the patients to have better care.
Is that still in place? You still got that in place?
Yep.
That bonus? Yep. Okay.
The bonus is working good. Well, but I did have one hygienist.
Going well. I got you. That's good.
Whatever. Yeah. I had one hygienist. She was my longest standing employee ever, and she had taken care of many of these patients, and she just could not stand to see the families leave who were more loyal to the insurance. And so she went elsewhere. And that was hard. I actually have 2 podcast episodes about that on my own podcast because I just processed the sucky feeling of leaving her and then like a follow-up on how I dealt with the sucky feelings afterwards. So that was hard because it feels like a family when someone's been working for you for 15 years. But honestly,
and your families are intertwined as well.
for
I'm
sure.
sure. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. But we're doing great. The team, we just had another team meeting today. Everyone is so happy. And today we practiced conversations, open-ended questions, curiosity questions, and how we get to what's really important to patients. It's just a completely different way of practicing now.
What was the date? What was your D-Day? When did you go all in? When did you go both lungs?
Gosh, which day was it? Well, so we had a whole month where the associate was leaving, and July 1st of 2022 was when we were completely fee for service.
So you're babe in the woods, July 1st, because we're recording this early or late in middle of November. So
yeah, I'm still in my
4
first
months in.
month. Mm-hmm.
Talk about some of the objections that you've had.
Well, a lot of people, it seems like almost like they are hypnotized with when it comes to how they feel about their insurance. And I think you used that word, or you said culty. And so
yeah, they're drinking the Kool-Aid. Yeah, cult. Yeah,
they're drinking the Kool-Aid, and they're like, well, I can't understand why you would be out of network. And their insurance is like their whoopee. It's like the thing that they get from their work that helps them never have to pay for their dental care. And so now we're saying, and we're going to ask your insurance to reimburse you. So when you come, you're going to pay for your services. And people, well, I don't have that much money, or I'd rather see somebody else. And here's another thing, Sonny. I am the only person in my county who has done this.
Mm-hmm.
Literally go anywhere else.
Yeah.
And
so the question they're going to have is, why are you the only one that dropped?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So we say the Paul Goodman thing, which is we don't want your insurance company to have a seat at the table when we decide about your care. We want that to be between you and us.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't need an intermediary. And people that have that feeling, well, here's an experience that we had. We have a house in Jersey, and we had a water leak on the third floor toilet, which ruined the second floor partially, the first floor, et cetera, right? So pretty good claim, right? A couple $100,000 ultimately. And the insurance company, it was a fight every single step. Their initial offer was a third of what it should have been. And you had to provide paperwork. Meanwhile, we have a very good policy. We have full replacement costs. We have all these things, right? Oh, like you said, that warm, comforting feeling that I'm covered, right? I'm insured. I'm in good hands. I have a good neighbor. I have whatever, right? Picture the insurance companies, right? We're here to help you. Oh, no, they're not. Let me tell you, they're not. My wife was 24/7 back and forth. Got quotes from, and we had to prove, listen, the price of materials is skyrocketing. It was just like, sorry, labor, materials, it's gone through the roof. This is the reality of where we are at. And it went back and forth. They had to pay for a rental. I mean, it was nuts. It was such an illustration of the insurance company is really not there to cover you. That's a falsehood. 1,000%.
Yes, and it's a hard conversation skill to gain to help someone see that you're on their side,
right,
but not with the insurance. That's a skill, and we're working on it. We're not perfect at it yet, especially when it comes to new patients. We're working on hearing what's important to the patient and helping them see how going to a fee-for-service practice will help them with what's important to them. And we're working on it, and we are down. We're down patients. Money-wise, we're doing fine. It's about the same as it was, and some days it's a lot more. And we'll be like, and we didn't even get any insurance checks. Yeah. We just collected 15 grand in a day and no checks. That was all from humans.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have the ebbs and flows a little bit. I can tell you that, but the ebbs are going to be a lot lower than your highs, and then the frequency of that will be less and less, and you'll just The practice is going to become exactly what you determine it to be, what you vision and what you've put in place. That's going to happen because you're committed to it, right? You're, the ham and eggs, right? You're either committed or you're involved, right? So ham and eggs, the chicken is the pig is committed, but the chicken's involved, right? So you're a pig, you're committed.
Yeah.
And this is from what everyone's told me. Once your mindset says, we are not going back, this is a commitment, the rest becomes simple.
Yeah. We're just looking forward. We're taking really good care of who's there. And of course, I spent all those years getting really good at several things. And so I have a lot to offer. I have the continuity of my team, the patients, and we're just making it about them and taking each day as it comes.
Have you hired new employees in those spots?
I hired one hygienist.
Okay. And everybody else seems, and look at what you've eliminated, right? Look at all the chasing down for insurances, the paperwork, the filings, the refilings, suddenly the claim was lost or we never got it, yada, yada. Now that becomes the patient's really on the patient's response. It's funny how when the patients deal, they somehow find it.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All that icky stuff. Now I have, 2 people up front who can actually focus on who we're serving.
Right.
Amazing. They love it. And I love it. And it's funny, I call my podcast, Love Your Practice. And I have to say, I really do love it. It's so much easier to love when it's not about the dental insurance.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've purified it, right? You've gone back to what we learned in dental school. You, the patient care.
Yeah.
And there's no intermediary. There's no buffer.
Talk about
no mediator.
Yeah.
Right. So good for you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Did we leave out any other blocks or any other things you want to touch on?
I don't think so. I think this was a really good conversation. Thanks for letting me talk about myself.
Well, you're great. I mean, I'm a fan. I could tell you that right now. I'm a total fan. Last question, right? I'm a listener. I'm fighting with this. I'm going through the thought processes that you and many others have gone through. Help me out. What should I do?
Okay. So you're a listener who's thinking about dropping insurances?
Yeah. And I have 60% of my practice is one insurance. We're not going to go Delta Devil, whoever it is. One insurance company is the primary source of my income at home.
Okay, so I'm going to put my life coach hat on to answer that question.
Go for it.
Okay. If you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed or afraid, I want you to know that the reason you feel that is because of what is happening in between your ears. And if you become aware of what you are telling yourself, then you are starting to tap into your ability to change what you are telling yourself. And it's incredibly important. So look at what you're telling yourself that sounds like it's too hard and ask yourself if it's actually a fact or if it's something that your brain came up with on its own. And I will tell you, 99 times out of 100, your brain just came up with it because it was trying to protect you. Now, ask yourself how you would rather feel and pick something to think that makes you feel that way. So what do you want to feel in order to be ready? I said I was ready. That was my feeling. So you could pick that. You could pick excited. You could pick committed. You could pick strong, empowered. Pick a feeling. Ask yourself what it feels like in your body to experience that emotion. And then ask yourself what you can tell yourself in your mind that creates the emotion, and tell yourself that every day.
I need to add nothing. I need to say none. Just let that marinate and soak in.
And if that really, really resonates with whoever's listening, come over to my podcast too, because that's what we talk about over there is mind management with regards to practice ownership.
And folks, if you haven't figured it out, this young lady has it going on and is committed to her happiness, her success, her patient's success, and the clients and the customers and people that she serves as well. So it's obvious, and you're going to have to match her. You're going to have to match her enthusiasm in her game, because her game's high, right? You're going to have to match it. Don't come with your B game, man. Come with your A game. All right. One last question. I appreciate you very much. It's been a great conversation. This is a fun one. So this has got nothing to do with dentistry. If you could go to any place or time, backwards, of course, and experience or do something with someone or something, where would you go, when, and why?
Might have to edit out the pause while I think about this.
It's okay. You want me to give you the Jeopardy music? Na, 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 na. It's no wrong answer. I can promise you. I've had some great ones so far. Ask everybody.
I want to see humanity before agriculture and patriarchy. I want to see what we acted like before humans and things were owned.
Oh my. So how far back are you going then?
Well, you got to go back like 10,000 years? Maybe more, 20,000? Because it's got to be before, men decided that women were humans to be owned.
So you like Adam and Eve? Or you like that kind of frame?
Oh, I don't believe in Adam and Eve.
You're right. I mean, so.
But like hunter-gatherers, I want to look at hunter-gatherers. And
Okay.
How they interact with each other before the ownership started.
All right. And if you listen to this, you know where she's coming from.
That's right.
You can understand the perspective, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Laura, I appreciate you. I'm going to put up on our show notes, and just one more time, loveyourpractice.net is her website, her podcast, right? Love Your Practice. If you guys haven't figured it out, that's her right. That's her core values right there. Love Your Practice. So it's a beautiful thing. Laura, who has had more than her share of challenges, but ain't no challenge that ever stopped her, and there's never going to be one. So I'm so proud to meet you. I'm going to call you a friend forever, because I really appreciated this and enjoyed you very much. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Fee-for-Service Dentist Podcast. If you would like to share your fee-for-service story, please fill out our contact form at ffsdentistry.com. Also, be sure to join our Fee-for-Service Dentistry Facebook group. For help starting your dental membership plan, visit dentalmembershipdirect.com and membershipmastercourse.com. Finally, for help with in-house financing, visit dentalfinancingdirect.com. And don't forget, your story is what you make of it. This is your name on the door and your reputation on the line. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Love Your Practice with Dr. Laura Mach. I would love to meet you. To join our movement, find the Facebook group called Love Your Practice and request to join. If you can't find it, just send me a message and I'll add ya. You'll find me there helping all of my ladies to fall in love with their businesses and have a better life.